Hello everyone, Ceri the Crafter here, that's C-E-R-I the Crafter, and today I'm here with I turned the camera on basically. Life is a bit crazy for me at the moment and I've got some thank you cards to send out, and I normally make my own cards from my artwork, and this is one of my abstract ones. I like doing abstract because it sort of fits any situation I send it for, and then whatever I write inside is whatever I write inside. So I'm down to only one of my abstracts, so I thought, right, I'm going to just make two. I only need two at the moment. So I pulled out my 8 by 10, 8 by 12. What is this? Let's see if I find a ruler. It's an 8 by 10 gel press. So I pulled that out. I also have, if I can find it, where is it? There it is. My 5 by 7, because I use that as my palette. Now, when working with abstract, I don't think, I try not to think, should I say. I've got my 4-inch speedball brayer and a selection of things. Everything from stamps to mark making. I can pull in stencils, I can sponge, I can do whatever I want. It's nice sometimes just to work on a smaller plate. Now, I recently put a poll on my community tab saying that I was fancying buying a 6 by 6 gel press. Should I do that? And a lot of you said, well, not a lot, 95% of you said go ahead and get it. So I've ordered it. You will see it in the future. One of the reasons that was brought up in the comments, someone said, well, why don't you just tape off part of your 12 by 12 or make a 12 by 12 and cut it up? Well, actually, if I had a 12 by 12 and I just marked off where the 6 by 6 is, my mind would still see a 12 by 12 and I would work in that scale. But by shrinking the scale of the gel press or gel plate down, it does mean that I shrink my visual library of things I can put on it down as well. So yeah, you get what I mean. I know you get what I mean. So I've got myself a piece of, it's not very thick cardstock, it's just cardstock that's the same size, because I know that being 8 by 10, I only need 2 6 by 4s out of it. So I can do 6 and 2 4s, so I can trim some edges off. And I've also pulled out some blank postcards because why wouldn't I? So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull these two aside. I think the first thing I need to do is I just need to get some base color onto something. So if you see a bottle with no label, it usually means it's several different things all added together into one bottle as other paints or tubes are running out. And this is buttercream, because what I want to do is I want to make the background not white, because if I want white in it, then I'm going to add white to the final piece. So I'm just going to mix these up on my gel plate. So hopefully everyone's doing fine. Here in Wales, it's definitely autumn. It doesn't seem long ago that went, oh, summer's arriving. But it's definitely autumn at the moment. Yeah, this year has been a bit crazy down here. Right, let's just pop that down. Just let it sit for a second. Doesn't have to be a perfect coverage. In fact, a non-perfect coverage is actually more interesting. I'm going to turn it around, because I know that all my plates, because they're old, I've been using them a lot, they get a little distorted. I don't mind that that's down there. I'll use this that I'm going to put the extra paint on for the postcard backgrounds. Now, the postcards are not meant to become postcards. They are just going to be postcard sized cleanup pieces. So see, this is the size that I'm going to use for my greetings cards. So I know that this plate's a really handy little plate to use. I don't mind bringing in a little bit, so I'll make sure everything's as covered as it needs to be. Right, I can sit by there. And also, I know I'm doing a background with these, but I'm actually going to use these all the way through the process to clean up anything left on the plate. So I don't mind if I've got lines on them. I don't mind if they've got odd bits on them. A postcard or any piece of art is going to be as interesting as the visual stuff upon it. So I'm just going to clean up a bit. Now, I don't really have a color scheme for this, so I might actually just experiment with a few colors that I really like. I might experiment with maybe putting a color in that I wouldn't normally put into this. So those two need to go by. So I think I'd like to put I think I'd like to put some green into this. Now I did have, yes I do, Titan Green Buff. No, that's wrong, Titan Green Pale. Now I'm trying to get this quite flat and chalky looking at this current moment in time. Just because that's how I feel I want it to look. Oh, that was a bit tight. Now I'm not going to put this one on my 5x7 because I know I'm not going to put a lot of it out. I'm looking just to, as I say, kiss the plate or just to pull up patches. If you're a subscriber to Darcy Sanders, you will probably have seen lately she's doing lots of like old wallpaper type stuff. This is kind of what I'm going for here. I'm trying to just bring stuff in that will give the illusion of an old decaying wall, but that's not my final intent to make that. It just happens to be, it's a reference. So if you're looking for something similar, Darcy is doing it, and she's done some really good Halloween projects too. Actually, I'll link Darcy's channel below, so pop across here if you like it. Just go ahead and subscribe. The lovely lady she is. Now, I want to start thinking about maybe tweaking it a bit. Now, I think I've got burnt umber somewhere. I've got burnt sienna, not burnt umber. I thought it was burnt. It was burnt something, let's put it that way. Right, again, I only want a little bit on here. I'm looking for interest. So as you can see, I've not put it all over. I've just come in, I'm literally kissing the plate like this. You'll also notice I'm holding in this orientation because I know eventually I'm going to be cutting in this orientation portrait. So it means that I can actually kind of visualize what the sections will look like when I'm finished. That doesn't mean I can't just flip the composition over and turn it into landscape if I wish. That's totally up to me. It's totally up to you as well. See, getting interesting there. So just by picking up little pieces along the way. This is one of those exercises I always think people should try when they're first out. Just use a little bit of paint here and there. See what it makes. Don't try and do a 12 by 12 if you're just starting out. Work with a small one. I mean, I always recommend, and many of you have followed me on my recommendation, start with a 5x7, which is this size. You can still make interesting stuff. Absolutely. Learn your skills, get your confidence up, understand thickness of paint. Do all of that in this size. Don't immediately go to 12 by 12. You'll end up with mud. You'll waste a lot of paper. You'll waste a lot of paint. You don't even need to do it on good paper. Now, let's have a little bit of a look at it. I think I'd like to introduce another colour into this before I start thinking about detail. And I think what I'd like to do is maybe add a turquoise or a teal or something. What's this? Turquoise. There you go. My hand. Oh, that's running low. I looked on the internet the other day for the Arteza box set that I actually bought the first time round, and it's lasted me, oh, that box set has lasted me a couple of years, I can tell you, of these bottles of paint, and I can't seem to find it. Oh, that was way more than I needed. Right, we'll be putting that on and taking a lot of that off, so let's just break this out a bit. So yeah, I was quite surprised I couldn't find it. Well, I couldn't find the one I'd done, and when I tried, did I buy it on Amazon? I might have bought it on Amazon, and you know, you can do a reorder or order again or whatever that phrase is. I tried doing that and it wasn't coming up. It kept showing me similar, whatever that's supposed to mean. I'm just getting some of this paint off here because it is so too much for what I'm looking for. These are just books that I use to clean up brayers and stuff like that on. You've seen me do them before, I'm sure. In fact, there's a whole video on them, I think. See, that's what I'm talking about. I want that edge gone, although I would be trimming down there. All right, so we're getting to the point where I'm getting very happy with what we're getting. And remember, I'm trying to do abstract, or I'm trying to do, it doesn't even have to be classified as abstract. I'm trying to create A panel of coloured paints and designs are for the front of a card that are pleasing to the eye. Let's just leave it at that criteria, shall we? Because I think that's what's important, that what I create is pleasant to look at. Because I'm sending this to someone as a thank you. And I'd like them to be pleased with what they receive. Oh, that needs some more work on it, doesn't it? Right, so my postcards, which I said are the clean-up things, are not important, but this is. Right, I think I now want to come in with a touch of white, just to push some of that back a bit, little tiny bit, not a huge amount. And then I think we'll look at maybe grabbing a stencil and see what I can put on here with a stencil. Question is, shall I use one of my stencils or someone else's stencils? I may have to pause the video and think about that one, or not think, just have a little look and see what is out there, or what I've got here. That's okay, these can do with just a little bit on them. And let's just pull this one up because it needs it. Now, at the end of this session, will I do it with you here? I might do it with you, actually. My intent is I don't leave my plates dirty. I've never done that. I clean my plates after every session. And by cleaning them, I don't mean scrubbing them or anything. I mean, I literally do one final pull to take all the stuff off. There, that calmed that down. I wasn't happy with the way that was looking. I know it's only book page for collage, but still, if I'm doing it, I'd rather not waste my time. So the stuff like this will get one final pull. I don't always show them. I might. It depends on where we're at in the video and how long it's taken. So, yes, I think I'm going to pause you guys because I want to pull out some stencils, make a decision on my own, and then I'll come back and tell you which stencils they are. Okay, back in 2 seconds. Well, that didn't take me long. This is Vintage Floor Tiles by Eddie Riaz from Eddie Makes Art. I will endeavour to link his channel, and I will endeavour to link this particular stencil. I just like it. I like the scale of it. When you reckon it's going on to something like this, it seems quite big, but there can be smaller detail in the front of it. I'm not going to cover the whole thing with this, but I am going to lift parts of it out, which is really nice. And someone did say, if you're working with a small plate, do you use small stencils? Choice is yours. It's your art, your way. You can use sections of a big stencil on a plate. You can use small stencils to create patterns and textures onto a bigger plate and then lift them in one go. So I'm going to put this down, and I think I'd like to go with something like burgundy or magenta, something along those lines. Right, I've got this plum purple. I called it plum purple because that was the closest I could get to what I thought it should be called. And it's a mixed pot. I mixed it up myself. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to brayer this onto here. Should I do it that way? I'll do it that way, and then I can lift the spare off with the other book pages. Now, there is, if you're used to feeling a brand new stencil, which this is, if you feel it, sometimes you can feel there's just a raised little edge on the Yupo. And the reason for that is, as the blade is cutting, it's pushing into the Yupo and creates a little bit of edge on one side. After the stencil has been used once, I find it very hard to feel it. However, if you're using a stencil for the first time, you can usually feel it, but you've got to know what you're feeling for. It doesn't make, to me, I don't think it makes a lot of difference, because as soon as you use a stencil, once it's guesswork from then on in anyway. So I'm just going to come in. Now, as I said, I don't intend covering everything and lifting everything. So for me, it's purely about this stage of just getting stuff down into the stencil so that I'm making contact with the gel plate underneath. Right, lift that off. Now, If I was alone, I would actually be putting that onto something else to pick the pattern up with, but I know the darker colours dry quite quickly here, so I want to come in and actually take up some of this while I've got it. See, that's what I was looking for, just something. If anything's going to look old wallpaperish, it's going to be something that has a repeating pattern. I'd just like to take that down on one side of that, and maybe across there as well. Right, so I've got that. Let's quickly get this on here because I can. So I've got all of this on here. Now what I want to do is, this is almost where I want it to be. Okay, so I'm going to have to clean this up and clean this up. But I think what I'm going to do with this is, I'm going to get myself a piece of copier paper. Now I say copier paper, for me it's not copier paper, it's presentation paper, which is a little bit heavier than copier paper. And I want to put something down on this to actually pull it. Now this plate is actually blue to start with, so I'm not really sure how much I'm going to see through it. So what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to put some white on this, and hopefully that will show through any details. It's likely to turn slightly pink because my 5x7 is dirty. I don't mind. I just want a chance of cleaning up my plate, is what I'm saying. Right, thin coat will pull. It doesn't need to be a thick one. Put that down. Give it a bit of a press so it's fully in contact. I'm going to just put this to one side, and if I remember, we'll pull this at the end, but it's not going to be spectacular, but it's certainly going to be something I can use for collage. So I'm now back to my piece here. Break that out a bit. I'm wondering, actually, just trying to create something. I wasn't planning to do that, but my gut instinct said to do it. Let's just get some of it on these. And let's just pick up the excess on here. This obviously was part from another session that got really quite dark. Let's just put that on there. So I'm at the stage where I want to do some form of mark making now. That's iridescent. I think that's one I normally use. Yeah, iridescent. It's the same one twice. There you go. What's this? This is a mix pot. Okay, I must have had a few tubes of stuff ending, so let's use this instead. So what I'm thinking of doing, what I am going to do is, I'm going to look and see what I've got that I can put into this that will give me an abstract look. Actually, I've got the bottom of an egg carton. I don't use this very often. But because it's really straight, that might give me some ideas. I think I'm going to turn it this way, so when I place it down, I can make sure it's horizontal. Yeah, this is just the bottom of an egg carton. I cut off the bits that stick up because I thought maybe I'd be able to do it that way, or it gives me some way to hold it in the middle. So I'm going to have to have a reasonable amount of this paint, because obviously I'm using it on a lot of surface. Well, that's not very good, is it? It's all separating out. You can tell I haven't used that in a while, can't you? That's better. It's not great, but it's better. Let's see what it looks like when I brayer it out a bit. Well, this looks like it was some sort of glaze at some point in its life. It'll work. I'm not looking for absolutely perfect or solid. So let's just pick up some of this. And also, both cards don't have to look identical either. I'm also going to be cropping them in separate ways, different ways. That looks like a gasket from a car to me. Okay, I'm not upset by that. And what I'm going to do is, I'm not going to do the whole card with it. I'm going to do... I think we'll end up with one card looking one way and the other card looking the other way. So I can cut one card out of there and one card out of there. Right, we've got all this. Let's get some of this onto something. So I hope you don't mind me doing this cleanup as we go along. Sometimes I delete out the cleanup. Sometimes I just leave it be and let it sit in there. Sometimes you don't even know I've done cleanup. Right. This is looking all a bit wet and wild for me. I think I want to get a bit of tissue because first of all, there's too much paint on here. So let's just let that sit and think about itself. And on here, let's see if I can just pick that up off there. You know, tissue is never wasted. Tissue is collage. Collage crumbs, as I think Darcy calls them. There you go, just a little bit of collage crumbs. And I've got stuff down there, so let's see if I can just pick that up in some way across here. We'll clean up on a wipe. There you go, interesting. So where are we at with this? I must say I'm not overly happy at how that turned out. Let's put it down this way so you can just... But what do I always say? Oh, that's better. It's further into the background. Okay, now I'm a bit happier with that. But remember, as I always say, trust the process, trust the process, trust the process. Okay, that's cool. I'm okay with that. So I've got this, but that's not incredibly exciting as it stands. I need to put some stuff into that. So I need to put something that will do some real big contrasty stuff. Right, the ever famous bubble wrap is coming out. For those of you who don't know, by the way, I do have foam stamps with PM Artist Studio for bubble wrap in 3 different sizes. Mine haven't arrived yet because I've told PM Artist Studio to hold on to my stamps until I've actually because they were launched last month. There's 1 launching this month, and then there's 3 or 4 launching next month. And I said, put them all in one package and send them, because postage from the States is expensive, as we all know. And I went, guys, no need to pay over the top. Just send them when you are ready. So when I get them, I will definitely share them with you. Right, I'm thinking I want to use some sort of green, and I'm thinking this green. Does this have a colour? No. This must have also been a mixed pot. There you go. Don't need a lot of that puppy. Right, I'm thinking of using the larger one. Well, large for me anyway. Now I want to see where I've got areas that could potentially need it. I've chosen the green so that it's not knock your socks off time. And you know what I mean by that now. Not highly contrast. So there you go. So we're getting there with that. We're going to put that, let's put that over there. Right, let's pull in those 2 postcards because I've got paint on the go. I might as well use it. You know, I know what's going to happen because it happens very often to me. I will do something like this and have clean-up postcards, and the clean-up postcards end up better than the real thing. So, right. Or the thing I was aiming to create, should I say. Thank you for the compliments, by the way, on my attempt at grid journaling. I did enjoy it. I will be doing it again. I will film the odd one for you because I know you enjoyed it as well, and some of you had never even heard of it. And I was like, oh, okay. I seriously thought, well, grid journaling has been around for a few years, I believe, but that doesn't mean that it always crosses our paths. So, so as I said, it kept coming up on my feed, so I did it. So yes, you will see more from me, and thank you for the compliments, as I said. Right, I think I'm pretty much done with this green. So I've decided not to do white. I'm going to do cadmium deep yellow hue, or cadmium yellow deep hue. Why do I say that wrong every time? Which is fine with me because I love this color. So and then it doesn't come in this bottle, by the way, guys. They came in a tube, and I was trying to be clever. I thought, oh, I can get these bottles really inexpensively on eBay. Maybe if I decant all my paints into this sort of size, it will help with storage and extruding the paint. It doesn't. It wasn't a good idea. So I'm just going to come in. Now this is a semi-transparent, so I'm going to use it in areas. So as you've seen, the green was a semi-transparent as well, and by that I mean partially see-through, if I have to define it in any other way. Just a little bit by there. I'm finding it slightly hard because it's this size, although I'm cutting these two sizes out of it. So I'm just trying to make sure that I'm staying visually within range of, oh, that was a lot more than I expected. Oh, well, there you go. Actually, I wonder, can I just wipe some of it off? I guess I can. I do want a bit on here, though. Right. So where am I up to? Right, we're getting there now. I know that my final impact is likely to be done with black. The thing is, in the time being, I need to decide what other colour will bring this to life. Because at the moment, this is incredibly mellow. There's not a lot of impact on this thing here. And I need to think about something that will give it a bit of a oomph. I think I'm going to use this dark teal. And I'm going to put some grid work into this. I'm a creature of habit, guys. If you've seen me do something once, you've probably seen me do it 100 times. Because I go with the similar things because I know they work. It's my taste, should I call it, or whatever you wish to call it, whether you call it style. I don't call it style, I call it taste. I do like to stick with what I know that works, although there are times, as you've all seen, when I really do embrace experimentation. Now, I must remember that I'm cutting sections of this. See, that brings more interest into it. I'd like to line that up and have a little bit more down the bottom. I think on this one, I'd quite like to put just a bit by there, just to give me the option of cutting here or there. That will do. Right. I am thinking this is looking muddy. I need to establish some areas for the eye to rest. And by that, I'm almost certainly mean white. Because otherwise it just becomes one mash of colour and pattern, which sometimes is fine. This time it's not. And I'm wondering, got an idea. I'm going to lay Eddie's stencil back over, because obviously it's a repeating pattern, so therefore it's going to be okay to put it in place over the top, match it up. Not that I need to match this up, but what I'm trying to do is, now I can't match up both sides at the same time because I did them separately. So I'm just going to match up on this side because it's more dominant, whereas here there's only that one piece. And I'm going to get myself a sponge. Just a cheap, inexpensive makeup sponge and a little bit of white paint. I say little because it doesn't need to be a lot. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to tap it on, tap it off, and actually just build into this some lighter versions of the pattern. Now, where it is here, because I've lined it up, I can blend it through and it will actually be in line with the one that's already there, whereas that one isn't. Now, loving the fact that you can lift up and see where we're going with this. Right down there needs some as well. There you go. See, that's just put some lightness back in. Actually, I think I'd like more in here. There you go, that's better. So where do I want to go from here? Well, first of all, just pick that bit of stuff off that plate. Now I think it's time we came in and put something reasonably bold on here, because we've kept layers and layers and layers of small. Now if we look, you can see, I mean, it's interesting. You can dig down into this, but now is where I need to add some dynamism. That's a big word for Sunday, isn't it? Dynamism. I said it once, I can't risk it twice. I want to put some circles in here because I like to put circles. I'd like to put, I'm going to put some black into this. I'm wondering what color were the circles. I was trying to stay with the earthy type colors, and I'm wondering whether I should come back in and actually just use like a terracotta or something like that. Yes, terracotta I think will work. And all I'm doing, you've seen them, I've got several of these. These are just the inners of tape rolls. These were washi tape, probably. I just stuck them together with a bit of glue and I use them to create patterns. So just pick up, not looking for perfect. Now, obviously, if I put one next to the other, I no longer have a group of 3, I have a group of 5. Yeah, I think that will work. Yeah, I think that's okay. Right, let's just use up some of this on our other things. And I think we're almost there. I just need to put the black on here. And I'm not sure I'm going to show you how I attach them to a blank card, guys, because I've done that several times. So what I'll do is I will link a previous video where I've actually done that, because there comes, I know there are sometimes people who have never seen it done before, but it just makes the video considerably longer if I keep doing stuff like that, when there's a perfectly good video, possibly where I made the previous cards anyway. So I'll have a look and see about that, and I'll link it down there for you. Right. I'm going to put these to one side now. As I said, they're not done. They were never meant to be done. They were just me using up stuff and cleaning up, and I'm happy with how those turned out. I need to bring in our main piece. Now, this is where I need to make a decision. What do I want as a final feature? Do I want mark making? Do I want flowers? Do I want butterflies? Do I just want shapes? I was looking for abstract, remember? So, and I'm wondering whether I should just stick with an abstract shape. Actually, I'm wondering, because I've used Eddie's stencil, maybe I should use one of Eddie's foam stamps. How about that? Let's see if I can dig some out. So if I've remembered this correctly, because I haven't got names on them, I want to say one of these is tumbling something. I'm going to use these. Let's just leave it at that. If I can find these, actually, you know what to do? I will actually, on PM Artist Studio, I will do a search for Eddie's name, and then I'll put a link to that search in the description box so you can see all of the great designs Eddie has done. But I'm going to use black. I know I'm going to use black. So I'm going to come in just with a bit of Mars black. Not an expensive paint, just paint. And just put this down, braying it out so it doesn't build up too much. Now, with a stamp like this, I tap it a few times, and if you hold it on an angle, you'll be able to see whether you've got enough paint on there. I believe I've got more than enough paint on there. So I'm just gonna... Now, when I use a foam stamp, I press it in the middle and then I press around the edges. The reason I do that, it's not so much with the smaller stamps, but with the bigger foam stamp, the heat it takes to laser cut them sometimes makes them bow slightly in the middle. So by pushing the middle down, you make sure that the middle gets stamped. Okay, like in that. Now remember, it's going to be cut from a section of this. So as long as I don't go past the halfway mark, I can keep them both looking different. Put that to one side, do the other one here. Now I'm noticing a sort of curve or flow in this, so I'm actually going to play with that. And because this is a clever little design, I can actually add to the tumble and make it work as a complete circle if I wish. Which I think I do want to wish. Yes, let's go this direction. See, so I can actually alter this so that it works. It doesn't just end up as 3 blocks. Let's just put... Actually, I think that's possibly enough. Let's leave that as it is. Right, what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to pause you, and I'm back. Right, everything's cleaned up, ready to go. This is dry enough for me to cut, but I just remember, because I just looked across, I've got this to pull yet. This is the one that was just a clean up one, so let's do that now because I will forget to do it later. So this is just the way that I normally clean up my plate, and these pieces in themselves could become backgrounds for something else, which I'm really quite happy about because that cleanup is a really nice cleanup. That's a really nice background. I could actually stick that into my glue book for my collage stuff. I could use it as collage medium. I could actually cut this into panels and use it as postcards. I mean, obviously I need to put more onto it, but it's a really good background. So let me put that to one side then. We have to cut this into 6x4, and that's because I'm using 5x7 blank cards. And I've decided to do one in cream, and I've done one in craft because they're not going to the same person, so that's fine. Now I look at this and I decide what area do I actually like. Well, I quite like that area in there, and I quite like this area down here. So how wide is this? This is 10. So how does 5 look? It should go a little bit. Actually, no, 5 would work. I'm just trying to split these up so I don't inadvertently cut one up when I mean to cut the other one up. So let's go back to this one now. So I'm looking for a 6 in this direction. So a 6 would actually mean I pretty much cut this end off, but I quite like to cut that end off. So if I come this way, I know there's 6 on my board, so let's just take a little bit of a chop there. How much would I lose? Not bad, I don't mind that. So I've now got that. I'm trying to preserve that bit there, so actually that will work. So that gives me my 6 now. Some of this is quite boring, and I really like this area in here. So what does 4 look like? Right, 4 means I will lose all of that, but I don't mind because I don't like that bit in the first place. So there you go. So that's my first card. So that will either go on to my cream coloured background or my craft colour background. Now this one that goes onto here is probably going to be mounted onto another piece of black card because it needs to be framed out if it's going on there, because it merges too much into the background. I could potentially do the same with this one, but I do quite like it standing out from that, and I don't need a black line around it. Right, now I need to look at this again. So I think I'm going to start by deciding on the 4 first of all. I'll just take a little bit off there. Right, so that's my width. Quite like this bit here, but I don't need all of that on the bottom. So just trim that down a bit. Now, if I cut it to 6, how much does it cut off the top? Right, it takes that much off, which means I should preserve that. I'm okay with that. Just take a little bit more of the bottom, because I'd like to keep that circle if I can. There you go. So that gives me again my 6. Okay, I'm all right with that. Let's put this by. Right, I'm looking at these and I'm wondering whether there needs to be anything else on them whatsoever. There isn't a focal point, but there is not supposed to be a focal point. So just having a thoughtful moment, guys. I feel they're lacking impact. And these aren't necessarily the ones that would go on, but if I've got them on a background, it helps me decide what they might need. I know it's a bit random, but I did mention red, and I'm thinking they could do with a something. What have I got that's almost red? What's this? Ruby red. Have a little look at what colour that actually, let's put it on the front. Actually, you know what? That might be what I'm looking for. Yes, I think I am. Right. Let's work at one at a time. So how am I going to put ruby red into this? I don't particularly want to do the same there because that's not on a straight line. Not that it has to be, but I don't really want it to be. Oops, don't spin round on me. Let's do. Is that enough? No, it's not. Let's do a circle in there. A circle in there. And let's do a big old Ceri signature here. Okay, that will do with that one. Now this one doesn't feel like it needs red, it needs a different color. Because this one to me was a warmer card than this one. So I'm thinking this might need yellow or orange. Let's see what I've got yellow-wise. Got this sort of mustardy color yellow. It's not very high impact, is it? Let's see what the orange looks like. I think the orange would pull that through, so let's put the yellow back. Now I'd quite like to do something different than I did with the other one. I've got lots of circles on here, so now, is this the right way up is the question. Now, see, this brings in another question. I mean, this one I decided was definitely portrait because of the shape, but this one could be whatever I choose it to be because of the way it is. Actually, I don't mind it that way, actually. Right. Ceri's signature in the corner. I think those are done. So, oops, that's a marker on the floor. So I'm just going to lay these here just so you can take one last look at them. Now this will obviously be that orientation. Now I'm going to mount them on some black card and then put them onto the front of these. So if I get that done and photographed, I will drop the thumbnail photograph into this video just so you can see what they ended up looking like. I may come in and do some squiggly lines or something the way I normally do, so bear with me. I will get that to you, I promise you. So all it leaves me to say is I'm Ceri the Crafter. That's Ceri the Crafter. Until next time, goodbye now.